Breaking today, the mainstream media finally catching up with what Lady Colin Campbell and myself have been saying for some time. There is a way for Prince William to strip Prince Andrew of his official title, but actually...
So, the Royal Drama Factory has delivered yet another bombshell, and this time it's not about Prince Andrew alone. Sure, the Duke of York's name is back in the headlines thanks to yet another tell-all book. But buried inside that story is something much juicier, much more explosive. Reports that Prince William himself might be preparing the legal and constitutional ground to strip Prince Harry of his titles when he eventually becomes king. Yes, you heard that right. According to insiders, the blueprint to deal with Andrew, removing dukedoms, royal patronages, and maybe even princely styles.
What is far more interesting is that this is the blueprint that the Prince of Wales is considering not for Andy, but Prince Harry, his own brother. So we'll get reaction and analysis from Lady C in just one moment. But first, here is how the Daily Telegraph reported on this story. And remember, Daily Telegraph, the establishment royal newspaper, so this was of some significance. Prince no more. How William could strip Andrew of his title. A new book full of excruciating stories about the Duke of York's sex life and financial dealings places pressure on the future king to act. And the newspaper reports there is a mechanism the Duke of York may not be pleased to learn by which Parliament can remove not just a dukedom, but even the title of prince. It would need legislation followed by royal assent from the king, but it is nevertheless technically possible. It would be complicated, blockbuster headline news, and would need the quiet, unofficial backing of the palace. But as a new biography about Prince Andrew and his ex-wife lays out every scandal, indiscretion, and excruciating moment of bad manners over his lifetime, courtiers would be forgiven for swatting up on what is possible. The mechanisms open to a future King William to go further are much more extensive than is generally reported. He has the option to decline to invite his uncle to his future coronation. It would be headline news, but there is a precedent. The Duke of Windsor was excluded from both George and Elizabeth's in rather different circumstances of living in exile after abdication. A king can, in certain circumstances, remove the Order of the Garter, which is in the monarch's personal gift. Parliament has greater powers. It can remove the dukedom via legislation. A private member's bill to give the monarch powers to remove titles mooted in 2022 after the people of York argued they did not want to be associated with the Duke fell flat. But a government bill to do the same job would doubtless fare much better. Should another attempt with the heft of the government behind it be more successful, Prince Andrew's name could eventually be struck off the roll of the peerage, where it is currently listed under York. So, Lady Colin Campbell, I know you probably don't think this is fair for Prince Andrew, but what I guess was most interesting for me about this story is it is revealing the establishment plan that is going to be in place for Prince William to effectively thrust Harry out of the royal family. This is what the Prince of Wales wants to do once he is in charge.
So, is this really going to happen? Honestly, it looks more likely than ever. When establishment newspapers start spelling out legal mechanisms, you can bet it's not just idle chatter. It's testing the waters, preparing the public, and signaling that the idea has serious support behind palace walls. And make no mistake, if William does this, it will be one of the most dramatic acts of royal ruthlessness in modern history.
The reason why in 1917 the titles were stripped from the Duke of Albany and the Duke of Cumberland was that they were traitors to the British nation. Well, also, may I point out that, which I'm sure you're aware of, the mechanism of stripping people of their titles. The titles can then be restored upon an application, and if it's judged that they should be restored, they can be restored. I mean, the fact that the Dukedom of Albany and Cumberland have never been restored is that the Duke of Coburg and Prince Ernst of Hanover have never applied for them to be taken out of abeyance. But there's not only the peerage that we're speaking about, which with say not only Andrew but Harry, York and Sussex, that has to be done by Parliament. But the king, with a stroke of the pen, can, and I've said this for ages, as you know, I've said it to you on your show on more than one occasion. The king, with a stroke of a pen, can do what George V did in 1917, when not only did he sort of rejig things in terms of the and this is separate from stripping people of their peerages. He, with a stroke of a pen, removed the right of the great-grandchildren of the monarch to be princes and princesses. And there's a very obvious case, which was Prince Alistair of Connaught. Prince Alistair of Connaught was Prince and Princess Arthur of Connaught's son, and the Duke of Connaught's grandson, who was Queen Victoria's favorite child. And he stripped Alistair of his princely rank with a stroke of a pen, and he simply became the Earl of Macduff as a result of his mother being the Duchess of Fife in her own right. So that's how he actually ended up being anything but Lord Alistair whatever. And so the king can actually, with the stroke of a pen, any king can decide, well, I'm going to alter the way the princely rank works, because it was altered, as I say, in 1970 by George V. And it can be altered again with the stroke of a pen, because the king is the fount of honor. I should say the monarch is the fount of honor in this country. And he has or she has the power to alter who is entitled to what. And with a stroke of they can simply come up with new rules. And
yes,
and
so Lady C, what you're saying then, presumably, is that this would not just apply to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but, and this is certainly what I'm hearing from William's side, it would apply to Archie and Lily too.
Oh, without a doubt, because without a doubt, I mean, I don't know what rule they'll come up with to justify doing it, but if Harry is caught in the net, Harry's the big fish. The little fish are definitely going to be caught in the net, because those children, in much the same way that when George V altered the rights of the descendants of the monarch, Prince Alistair of Connaught, whose parents were both royal highnesses, he ceased overnight to be a prince, and thereafter was never royal. He was, because when he acceded to the title to the Dukedom of Connaught, he wasn't His Royal Highness the Duke of Connaught. He was just His Grace the Duke of Connaught. So if Harry is stripped of his princely rank, the children cease to have any entitlement whatsoever to princely rank. And let's remember, there has been a lot of resentment behind the scenes in royal circles for the way that Meghan and Harry announced that the children were now prince and princess, bouncing the family into having to go along with the announcement that they had made, failing which there would have been a huge international stink and a hue and cry in
I
the run-up
know.
to the
I mean,
coronation.
I guess they were hoping, Lady C. This is the problem. King Charles always hopes for a logical, rational conclusion. So he thought, well, surely my son and my daughter-in-law, given they've been so anti the royal family, don't want their children to become a prince and princess. He thought that almost they would make the decision and then it could be something mutual. But that's not going to happen. This is going to have to be done in a difficult way. But I am very delighted seeing the Daily Telegraph at least starting to put out there what we've been saying for a long time, because mark my words, William is a no-nonsense guy. He is not going to put up with this rubbish. He will speak to the Prime Minister of the day. I do believe this will happen.
Not since Edward VIII abdicated has the monarchy been so close to a formal family rupture. But here's the thing. William knows a monarchy survived because it adapts. The Windsors survived the abdication, the divorces, even Andrew's disgrace. But letting Harry and Meghan keep royal status while actively undermining the crown, that could be fatal.
Well, William, and I'm going to use a word that some people will think is pejorative, but in this context, it's actually complimentary. William has a streak of ruthlessness in his nature that makes him a very good leader. And William does not pussyfoot around. William, for instance, when that whole business with Marlene Headley came about, if you remember, with our Susan Hussey, William, to preserve the Earthshot Awards, and because he was on a plane to the United States of America when Ngozi Fulani came up with all the nonsense that she did about racism at the palace, if you remember what I'm speaking about.
Oh, yes, I do. That woman.
Yes. And in her native costume that actually had nothing to do with any national country whatsoever. But we won't. The point I'm making is that William understood the importance of immediately throwing water on the fire. And even though Sue Hussey got splashed, he also knew that it was a bit unfair to Sue Hussey, but ultimately she would be on board with the really rather difficult decision he had to make. And indeed, she was on board with it. And the whole situation was tremendously unfortunate, but it showed that William has a backbone of steel. And if he has to splash you, he will splash you. And Harry and Meghan have set themselves up as the enemies of the British monarchy. I mean, really, Meghan is the one who has done it, and Harry has gone along.
Yeah.
And it is an untenable and stupid position. But I mean, she for somebody who thinks she's very clever, she's really incredibly stupid in her demeanor and her objectives, because she never actually achieves what she wants except attention. She gets the attention, but not the positive attention she wants. She gets negative attention.
Yeah.
But
and it's not attention that she's actually successfully monetizing, which is really interesting to me. Lady C, I've got to talk to you about the other big royal story of the week, which was the publication of Andrew Lowney's book about Prince Andrew, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. But I specifically wanted to ask you about Prince Harry's denial, because, you know, when Omid Scobie, that very odd-looking Michael Jackson lookalike, published that terrible claim that Charles and Catherine were indeed racist, didn't hear a word from Harry. But when it came to this book, the moment that there was this claim that Harry had left Prince Andrew with a bloody nose and that Andrew had also said some terrible things about Meghan, he immediately ran to People magazine saying that he denies this. And, you know, it was a spokesperson. We know that he communicates with People magazine directly by email. I mean, they've admitted that before, saying, I can confirm neither of these things are true. Prince Harry and Prince Andrew have never had a physical fight, nor did Prince Andrew ever make those comments about the Duchess of Sussex to Prince Harry. Why do you think he did this? And do you think there's any truth about this? Because I will come to this in just one moment, Lady C, but remember, there is a lot of evidence that Prince Harry is a very violent guy.
Well, one of my oldest and closest friends, who is a lord, and he's saving it for his memoirs, but it's been a source of amusement with us for years, because Harry saw him at something. This is decades ago, long before that. Harry saw him at something, and Harry, who was pretty drunk or stoned at the time, tried to attack him. And he said, and I can't use the language that he said on this forum, but he basically said with very blue words, come, you little something or the other, come, you know, because he had been a boxing blue at Eton. And if I'm not mistaken, he's the person who ended up, something happened at Eton and they had to ban boxing because he was actually very happy for Harry to sort of lay a few blows on him. But Harry was being restrained by his security people, his protection officers. But while Harry was being restrained, he was saying, come, 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 and really trying to say, you know. So Harry, and that's just one of many incidents that I know of where Harry has shown himself to be, shall we say, trigger happy, and so I have no doubt that there is something to the story. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
And notice Prince Andrew, who is the one who would have been defamed. Harry wouldn't have been defamed. Harry's supposedly the victim in all of this. But Prince Andrew hasn't denied it.
Nope. No.
Let's remember that. If it's defamatory of anyone, it's not defamatory of Harry, it's defamatory of Andrew. And Andrew has completely ignored it.
I mean, it's also quite ironic, isn't it, Harry getting annoyed about someone revealing physical fights between members of the royal family, given that's exactly what he did in Spare.
So William is ready to make the cut, even if it means looking like the villain. If all this plays out, the headlines will be brutal. Prince no more. William banishes Harry. Archie and Lilibet stripped of titles. The Sussex supporters will scream about cruelty, racism, and revenge. Harry will rage. Meghan will play the victim. Oprah will probably get another exclusive. But William won't care. He's playing the long game. His duty is to the crown, not his brother. And if that means slashing Harry out of the royal script, so be it. In a way, this is the ultimate tragedy of the Harry and William story. Two brothers who once walked behind a mother's coffin, united in grief, now on opposite sides of the battlefield. One preparing to be king, the other floundering in California. And at the heart of it all, a ruthless truth. In the monarchy, blood ties come second. Survival of the crown comes first.